What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Let me give you guys an update what's happening with Donald Trump and Iran for all those who are doing their very best to not pay attention to all the bull crap that's going on. Trust me, I try to pretend like it's not happening. I know it's happening, but it's so much ridiculousness that's been going on for the last 10 years, right, that sometimes you just have to take a break from all of it, right? So sometimes I don't talk about it, right? But other times I'm like, all right, I need to at least, give an update for those who are doing the same thing like me and just trying their best to pretend like Trump doesn't exist until he doesn't exist, right? So this is what's happening. Okay, so you see it all on the news, how if you look at Fox News is trying to reassure their subscribers, right? Reassure their audience that America is pummeling them back, that we're doing this and we're doing that to them, right? CNN and MSNBC and all them, well, not so much MSNBC, but CNN is basically trying to have a fair and balanced view. They're almost pretending like this war is like a regular war, that we both mutually went to war, and now, they're bypassing the part where this is an illegal action by a rogue authoritarian president, like, because CNN has become Fox-esque or Fox-like as of late, right? But what's actually going on is Iran's only leverage is that small 6-mile straight bit of water that everybody's fighting over, right? Now, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter how powerful your military is. You can't bomb your way into concessions. Donald Trump has strategically failed to listen to his generals, his admirals, who told them if we were to go into Iran to do anything, these are the things that we have to do, right? But recommended not to go in Iran because there's no strategic reason to go into Iran, and Iran does not pose a threat, a physical threat to America, right? Sure, you have your proxy wars going on, which I'll explain that later, but they do not pose a threat. Of course, we are the United States of Israel because all of our politicians are owned by Israelis, so this entire government has, since its inception, has been doing the bidding of Israel. Since Donald Trump came down those damn golden steps, we have been doing the bidding of Israel to the max. 100%, no regulation, no hold guards, no anything. All the presidents previously, they had certain levels they would hold back. They would not allow Israel to do certain things. Donald Trump, all that shit was blew out the water. Matter of fact, Donald Trump started this entire y'all gotta, I can't wait till the historians get a hold of this and when the smoke clears so we can see where all this stuff. Donald Trump started this entire thing. Listen, this entire genocide of the Palestinians, Lebanon, Iran, Donald Trump himself started this when he moved the American embassy to Jerusalem. That was the first indicator, because when he did that, it indicated that to Hezbollah, to the Palestinians, that there was no two-state solution. It solidified that all the talk of a two-state solution is just not going to happen, because obviously Israel does not want Palestinians to exist. They want them to be eliminated so they can steal the land, certain parts of Lebanon, they want to steal it. But here's the problem with Greater Israel. Greater Israel will have new borders. The borders will be touching Iran. Iran is in the region, is one of the most dominant military powers in the region, right? If you haven't noticed, all those Arab countries, right? This is the thing about the Arabs. You notice we always talk a lot about our unity, right? And our disunity and how we're disunified in Africa and blah, 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 right? And how I try to disseminate to you that white people have never been unified and they fight and kill each other. Like, clearly they're not unified. But Arabs are not unified either. Look at them. Arabs have allowed their religious differences. They have allowed their religious differences and their tribal differences. They have allowed Europeans to infiltrate the various countries because of the difference they have with each other. They have allowed the white man to set up bases in their country, to put missiles aiming at their neighbors in their country. So Iranians, who are not Arab, by the way, never call an Iranian Arab. Them fighting words. They're Persians. Arabs and Persians are two different groups of people, even though Arab is really a linguistic ethnic group, just like Latino. It's a linguistic ethnic group, meaning they are an ethnic group based around the language. Just like When you say Latinos, right? Like they're clearly different type of Indians. You got black people, white people, but they are united under the language of Spanish. They're colonizers. They're all united by the colonizer's language, right? And then you got the Arab, right, which is people united under Islam, but speaking Arab. But even though Arabs are Arabs can be considered an African, a white person, an Asian, right, or a mixed mulatto who you consider Arabs, because Arabs ain't nothing but Mexicans, but before Mexicans. All right, they just mixed up black, brown, Asian. There's only two mixes. There's only really three races in the world. If you're really you got Asian, white, and African. So all the little combinations, these new human beings, is just the same combination of black, white, yellow, and which culture and what combination is going to be infused with to make what ethnic group, right? But as far as Iran, they know that they're dealing with two tyrannical governments that nobody around the planet has enough power to stop. Basically America, right? So their goal is to keep this thing going into the midterms. Because first of all, the midterms for incumbent president is always usually bad. The party usually, the other party usually wins the midterms. But in this case, Iran wants to completely destroy the oligarchy the only way they can. That is to have the war still continue on during midterms. Trump thought it was going to be an in and out thing. I don't know why he thought this was ever going to be an in and out thing. In all of military history, it doesn't matter how big a force is coming to put siege upon any place. Even if that place has a small amount of people, the fact that fortress, that country, that small group who's on the defensive means even if they have smaller numbers, because of the action of defense, they can still hold out even when it comes to fighting against a larger, more powerful force. And that's just not going to change just because America is super uber duper powerful, and it's not going to change that. That's always going to be the dynamic, is that overwhelming force can be slowed down by a small concentrated defensive force, right? I.e., white people like to use the Spartans, who were not white, by the way. All right, and the people who played the Spartans in the movie were based off their interpretation of appropriation. They were appropriating the Greeks and the Spartans and all those people down there, because those people were closer to me than they were to them Anglo-Saxon barbarians, who they are the people who define these Northern Europeans as Anglo-Saxon barbarians. Like this is their word they made up for these white people who were not like them at all. So I always found it weird when white people try to claim Greek, Roman, and like them ain't your people, bro. Them ain't your people. You didn't even accept the modern version of them, right, when they came to the Americas or when they go to Europe. You didn't even consider them white until they capitulated to your whiteness, right? But so Iran actually, now when it comes to death, yeah, we've had like 18, probably 30, deaths, right, in various different countries. Most of these people who died, these military personnel, were people who would be working the computers, working radar. Like, these are not combatants, all right? These are like support staff, people who are sitting in countries who never thought they were going to be in combat, because that's not what they were there for. They were just maintaining presence, right? But what America is doing to Iran is diabolical. We're killing, well, not we. The American military force is being forced to kill thousands of people. Like, if you think kinetically, meaning if you're measuring who's winning a war based off who's killing more, America is always winning, right? But you need more than just killing a whole bunch of people to win a war, right? Because you're fighting against an ideology, and you're also invading a country, which creates solidarity within the country, even if there was, separation. Because the issues that Iran has internally, those are internal in-house issues. Now, Donald Trump and Israel thought that they could spark a revolution by exploiting the issues within the country, because divide and conquer. The same tactic that white people attempted to use in Iran is the same tactic that they used in Africa. Do you understand? I need y'all to pay attention. The same tactic they're using in Iran is the same tactic they used in Africa 500 years ago. So when you say that they bought slaves from Africa, that they were selling them, that's like saying the Iranians are negotiating, Americans and Iranians are negotiating passageways and toll booths evenly, and there's no war going, there's no bombs being dropped, there's no negotiation via bombs and missiles. Nah, it's not happening. 100 years down the line, they're going to say, no, the Iranians wanted to be bombed. They wanted America to drop a bunch of bombs on them. That's how ridiculous it sounds when you say Africans sold their own people into slavery, right? That's like almost saying Arabs are killing themselves right now in the Middle East, right? When in fact Arabs, the people we call Arabs, they may speak the same language, but are different people from different tribes and different nations, right? Totally separate, different cultures, but they all speak Arabic. Okay, so Iran's calculus is to affect to help affect American politics by making sure that everybody's reminded that Donald Trump started a legal war during the midterms. This should help destroy the regime. You understand? The regime. They don't have anything against Americans. Even when they say death to America, that's just a chant. That's death to white people. Like when they say death to America, they're saying death to rich white oligarchs who continue to bomb and murder and harass them for the better part of 100, 200 years now. Right? Because keep in mind, white imperialism has never took a break. They just switch up the tactics. You call one thing slavery, we change the name, we call it indentured servitude. We change the name, we call it inmates and convicts in jails. We change the name and modify, we call you employees and employers, and we take the chains off and we give you 401k, and we give you a invisible chain around your neck called your Social Security, so that corporations can tell you what your value is based off what they want to, how they want to see it. If you don't go into debt, you're not a good nigga for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So these are corporations fighting these wars, right? And so since you got Iran, who has no choice but they're getting destroyed. Listen, there's so many Iranians being killed right now unnecessarily. Children, women, men, non-combatants. They're getting infrastructure destroyed, right? Things they need to survive, right? So that's what American, the white imperialist system is forcing our military to do, right? Killing scores of people are dying, billions of dollars of infrastructure, all of that, right? So, but Iran has been giving weapons to Russia because they have a relationship. They have a border. All these people are connected, right? They have a border. So Russia is supporting Iran in turn, giving them satellite communications, giving them ability to target American bases. So you wonder why is it that Iran all of a sudden has the capability of, targeting American bases? It's because Russia was giving the opportunity to attack America via proxy when America decided to enter into that into a legal war with Iran. Just like America sends when they feel like it. If Donald Trump wasn't the president, all those bombs and missiles that were hitting Iran would have been hitting Russia. All of them. Because we've been giving them to Ukraine, and they would have been raining hell on Russia. Right? Now, it behooves Russia to support Iran. Because they want Iran to continue the war so that America can continue to drop bombs. The more bombs and missiles we drop, the less bombs and missiles we have to support Ukraine in their fight against Russia. If China is going to take on Taiwan, right, knowing that America has a strategic alliance agreement with them to defend them, it behooves China to make sure that we use up all of our defensive missiles and our ballistic missiles in Iran so that we don't have enough to defend Taiwan. And we don't have enough to fight back with China, because it's going to take decades to replenish the inventory. Some of these missiles cost $3 million a pop, okay, which is ridiculous. We're spending $3 million, all right, a pop for missiles to kill children and women in Iran instead of spending that $3 million to invest in schools and infrastructure in America. So when you look at China and how they just got a one-party system and they just develop because they don't have any political pushback, and they develop all this technologies, the reason why they're able to do that is because they have a one-party system, right? And they just do what they want to do. The person in charge just does what he wants to do. And they don't have any pushback, so they have to wait years of bureaucracy and years of special interest to get some senator or some politician to sign off on something that'll benefit their community, because they are bought and paid for, by Israel, and Israel's livelihood is more important than American livelihood as far as the politicians we have. But in China, they don't got no loyalty to anybody else but Chinese, right? It's China first for the Chinese, right? So they do things to develop their infrastructure as well as build their military. In America, no, we just build our military. We don't care about infrastructure because it's all about these corporations making that last dollar. And they can give a shit because the infrastructure they live at, where they live at, they're good. They're good. And plus, American oligarchs are not loyal to America. They have houses everywhere around the world. So if shit go to hell in a handbag here, they're going to go over there. Right? So Donald Trump has been trying to get out of this Iran thing for a while, but he doesn't have an exit plan because he never had an entry plan. There's no winning the war because there's no goal for a win. There's impossible. You're not going to bomb Iran to submission. Why would they do? You're invading them. They're going to defend themselves, and they're going to have allies. You're making Iran stronger and more relevant on the world stage by attacking them, unjustified. Right? So Iran's going to make sure the world doesn't forget it, and going to make sure, and the rest of the world's going to make sure that it's a Israeli America-led illegal war. This looks terrible for all the politicians who are in charge and all the business people who are pushing it. Right? Iranian intelligence is very much aware that it's not popular in America. That if this war is still going during the midterms, that it's going to directly affect them. Right? And also, as far as the Israelis and the white supremacists in America are concerned, they know this was their only golden opportunity to just destabilize Iran. Because no sane Republican or Democratic president would have done this or would have allowed Israel to go this far. None. Right? Only a Donald Trump. We basically don't have a president. We haven't had a president. Well, we had Biden, but he was like an in-betweener. We haven't had really a president in like 10 years. Our government is screwed. Our government does not operate efficient. The military, all our important generals and admirals and colonels and military leaders who are the tip of the spear of the military, they're all been fired because they're not going to do these illegal activities that Donald Trump wants them to do. You'll be surprised at how our top brass, the people who've been in the military 30, 40 years, have been leading soldiers, Marines, and airmen and sailors for 30, 40 years. You can't get no more expert than these people. Are being fired by Pete Hegseth, Mr. fucking G.I. Joe, and goddamn neo-Nazi goddamn Hitler wannabe Donald Trump. So now you got a bunch of unqualified military personnel who are not qualified to the positions that they have been put in running the military. Our military is being destroyed by, I think Donald Trump is a Trojan horse. Like, this is like the beginning of Odyssey. Like, white people thought Donald Trump was going to be their savior. He ended up being a Trojan horse because every move he's made since he's been in charge has been destroying white supremacy and white infrastructure from within. And exposing the oligarch and laying it out plain for everyone to see that if you are white and rich, you are above the law. No question about it. And when he's gone and nobody's held accountable, no question about it. We all know white men with money are above the law. And then white men without money and everybody else going to probably want to do something about it. And it's going to bring about some change that goes against what white supremacy was trying to do in the first place. But yeah, this war is going to continue because the Israelis need more destruction, more death, more chaos in Iran. And they would really like to spark a revolution. They would really like to arm rebels and other factions that are anti-Iran in order to continue to further destabilize them so they do not rise. And they're going to do that balls to the wall, full speed ahead until the midterms forces them to do it. Like, literally, it's going to be the midterms. They're going to keep doing it until the new crop of politicians come in and actually pass legislation to stop it. So this is going to go all the way to the edge. White supremacists they're going to squeeze as much juice as they can out of this opportunity that they had with this Donald Trump and this Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu needs to stay in power and needs to stay in war because once he stops the war, he has to deal with him being prosecuted. He's supposed to be in jail. He's supposed to have been impeached, but the war has delayed that. Plus, there are more Zionists, there are more racist piece of shits behind Benjamin Netanyahu that is backing him and keeping him in charge. Keep in mind, this guy's a dictator. We like to talk about how long has Benjamin Netanyahu been in charge? In a supposed democracy? Yeah, okay. Bullshit. It's not a democracy. How long has Putin been in charge in a supposed democracy? How long has a lot of these European dictators have been in charge in a lot of these European countries? They've been in charge for, 20, 30 years. A lot of them. 10, 15 years. But y'all talk about the African ones? They're all, this whole crop of old geezers is the same. They're all coming from the analog days. They all believe that they are emperors and they should be in power until they die. Like Mitch McConnell, who's dead. But they still don't even want to tell us that he's dead. That's how important of a cog in the machine of white supremacy is they can't even tell him that he's dead because his seat is very important to white supremacy and what they got to do, right? The whole idea of keeping, not saying it's like there's so much illegal shit happening. There's so much shit on the wall. The wall is brown. You can't see no white on that wall. The wall is absolutely brown, and the whole room stinks. That's how disgusting it is. This is a biohazard in this room. You need a whole biohazard mop level 4 suit to go in this room and clean this shit up. Man, just burn the motherfucker down. That's how terrible it is right now, right? When white males with money are not held accountable by other white men with money and other white men who are supposed to be law enforcement professionals, this is what happens. Uncontrolled, out of control white people with money, right? Causing death and destruction everywhere they can because of their greed. That's all it's about. So if y'all don't think the World War has started, the World War started. You got a whole bunch of Colombians and Latinos in Ukraine fighting on Ukraine's side and fighting on Russia's side because they're mercenaries. Got a whole bunch of Africans too. You got a whole bunch of Asians and North Koreans and Chinese and everybody who wants some money that's being offered a job to go kill the other guy and you guarantee get paycheck. The whole world is fighting in Ukraine right now, right? And then now you got Ukraine taking shots at Iran in the Black Sea. So I wouldn't be so shocked if Iran don't take a shot at Ukraine. You got Ukraine, right, because they don't like Russia, right, killing Russian mercenary forces in Africa, while and because they're doing that, also killing the Africans. So now you got Africans who got issues with Ukraine because Ukraine don't like Russia. So anywhere Russia is, they will do military action against them. So and vice versa, Russia would do military action against Ukraine wherever Ukraine is. So now, because of the Russia-Ukraine war, Africa has become enemies of Ukraine has now become an enemy to a lot of African countries. All this is going to matter in the future. Hell, Ukraine is an enemy to black people globally because we saw how Ukraine treated the black people when they were being invaded. They had time to be racist to black people while they were being invaded by Russians. Imagine the depth, the how deep your racism got to be is you have time to be racist while you're being bombed and invaded by another white group of people. Imagine that shit. So Ukraine was already one of the most corrupt countries in the world before this war started. So there's no love lost for their politicians at all. Their president, he's an actor pretending to be a president right now. He's a literal actor. He's an industry plant president, right, who was placed there. He's a comedian, right, who became the president because he knew how to act like a candidate, right? And you got Putin. He's just a badass motherfucker. Now you just gotta give him his prop. That motherfucker been fighting all these savage barbarians by using savage barbarian tactics himself. That guy is something else, right? You gotta give props where props is due. Goddamn it, he be holding it down, as long as he can. And if you say something about him, don't drink the water. That's it. He gonna get you, or you might accidentally fall out of a building. That happens a lot. People would be falling out of buildings all the time in Russia when they say something out their mouth slick. You know what I'm saying? But that's how they work. That's how they roll there. But this war, trust and believe, there's no one gonna win in this war. The whole entire planet is being affected by this war. The entire planet, because it's clogging up commerce for everybody. That means everybody has an incentive to see the end to this. But you got two egotistical groups. You got the Imam of Iran, who is one stupid. Listen, these men are retarded. None of these men who are in charge of these wars, who are in charge of me, are smart enough to manage a McDonald's. Donald Trump, a white oligarch, Hitler-esque idiot, and then the Imam, another religious, crazy ass, hypocritical idiot, and they both got egos, and neither one of them gonna give up. And America doesn't care about the soldiers dying because, as far as they're concerned, that's acceptable losses. Trust me, it's acceptable losses. They do not care, and they're going to reclassify this over here just to say, for the record, that this many people died during war. These many people died over there during non-combative conflicts. Blah. They're going to muddy the waters, right? But they don't care. The troops are meant to die, as far as they are concerned. They really don't care at all. No leadership has ever really cared about their troops, to be honest. I mean, some presidents do care, genuinely care, but when it comes to war, like when a person sends somebody, they know that a certain amount of these people are going to die, right? And Donald Trump really doesn't care at all, right? So, and that goes everywhere, right? That's the burden of the warrior. The warrior knows the person telling them to go into battle that doesn't go into battle doesn't really care about them. They'll pretend and, salute the troops and all that shit, but you're just an ends to a means. You signed up, you volunteered, therefore it's on you as far as they're concerned, right? Except for if you got drafted, then it's different. You're being forced, and they still don't care about you, right? Which Americans have shown that too. They'll force your ass to go to war and still won't care about you, right? But so everybody who's suffering because rich white people and rich Arabs and their egos and all this shit, like that's why we need this whole analog generation. We need all the evil ones to die. Let the good ones live a nice, long, blessed life. But all the evil ones need to die. But it seems like evil people just live forever, right? So that's what's going on over there. This is just a battle between corporations, guys. These are corporate wars. They're attacking corporate infrastructures. These are billionaire. They're attacking anything that a billionaire builds that will take decades to rebuild. Power line infrastructure, desalinating plants infrastructure, bridge infrastructure. This is going on in Europe, Middle East, and while all this is going on, Africans are getting their shit together, trying to anyway. But white supremacists while they're going down and depleting, and while they're causing chaos in the Middle East, and while they have genocidal wars going in Europe, they will deploy their agents to make sure that Africans and South Africans and Nigerians and Ghanaians fight, and have more rifts that slows down the unification of Africa, because that's most definitely a white psyop. That's this South African xenophobic thing is most definitely a white psyop. They want Africans to continue to fight each other over in-house differences. That way it slows down the progress of Africa, while Europeans try desperately to figure out how can they recapture the strength and power and control they used to have, which will not happen, because the rise of Africa is inevitable and it can't be stopped. Resistance is futile. Right, but doesn't mean they're not going to try. So that's what we got going on. Like I said, I'll periodically update you on what's happening, as I'm sure, like me, you guys are trying not to pay attention to it as much as possible to have some sort of quality of life while we're waiting for this dude to kick the bucket. All right, or at least get the hell up out of here so we can get some confidence back in the government, so we can all, at least coast, a little bit. Okay, we got to get the coast. We just trying to coast, right? But I still think at the very end, we must, when we go to these elections, we can't just be voting for Democrats just because they're not Donald Trump, and just because they're not the Republicans. Because a savvy Democrat who doesn't actually care about his people will say, "Look, I'm not Trump," and they won't champion any policies that you want. They'll just play on your fears and say, "Look, we're not the Republicans," but they never offered you anything. So look out for Democrats that are actually offering something, and it has to be something good. No light bullshit. No, we need some extreme shit. If the Republicans can get away with all this extreme shit, then we need some extreme shit on behalf of the American people. And we black folks, we need some extreme shit, because we deserve it. Because if the Democrats and the Republicans are going to pretend like we just, African Americans, were not strategically and perfectly attacked for 10 years straight by Donald Trump, if they're going to pretend like the shit never happened, and they're going to ask us to be quiet and just move on, right? If they're going to have to send their white politicians to the barbecue spot, to the black churches, and they're going to make their little rounds, they better be offering us some goddamn tangibles. Things that we actually want as far as legislation is concerned that will benefit our communities, or we're going to have a problem. And that's just where we at, and y'all got to stay diligent about that, and don't let some white politician come in your church, right? Slap on a half-ass Southern or black scent, right, to appease us. We were past all that shit. We need real tangibles, and that's the truth. Okay. So anyway, you guys tell me what you think about this in the comment section. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something.
Every accusation is a confession. I will not elaborate.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.